What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Undercover Dumpster Fire. As always,
Mhm.
I am undercover detective, retired undercover detective, Matt Pitcher, now actor. I got to start saying that. And as always, the better part of the show, Willy, former firefighter, therapist, and actor on as well. What's going on, Willie?
What's happening, Matthew? What you
No,
doing, man? Here we are.
another
Yeah.
great night.
That's right, man. Yeah, I got a coin too. I just wanted to send a shout out to cops and campers.
Ah,
Uh,
nice.
we had Eric Reynolds on a couple weeks ago, and it's just Police Week, so just wanted to send another shout out to those folks that are, law enforcement this week, especially being Law Enforcement Appreciation Week.
So cool. Abby, I see you're on. Hi, Abby. Hope everything is going awesome. Um, all
Yeah.
right, so Willie just brought it up. He stole my thunder because that's what Willie does. Anyway, um, this
Mhm.
what we're finishing out Police Week right now,
Yeah.
and obviously for me, Police Week is very near and dear to the heart. For those of you who might not be familiar, or whatever, that's kind of when we celebrate the men and women that are out there in law enforcement, on
Hmm.
the streets, protecting everybody and doing their thing, and also with that honoring those who made the supreme sacrifice in the line of duty, with which, uh, thank you, Abby. Um, Obviously, I unfortunately know more than I would care to of people that have made the ultimate
Yeah.
sacrifice, and two, including two of my, well, oh, that's a lie, four of my good friends who have been
Mm.
killed in the line of duty. Um, Two of them were killed at the same time and executed by a complete coward who literally just got a surprise on him and was a coward. Wouldn't even face him man to man kind of thing. But anyway, get into
Mm.
that. And one of the coolest things that I've gotten to do, in a sense, cool, is when you go. Police Week in Washington D.C. is huge, right? That's where the police
Mhm.
memorial is, all this stuff, and it's a very very cool experience. And um, one of the things that I've gotten to do, and I wanted to be able to show them tonight, but I can't quite get at them, is there's a wall, kind of like the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, that kind of thing. But there's this huge wall that has every officer that has been that's given the ultimate
All.
sacrifice. Yeah, all of
Mm.
them. And you can actually sketch. You can take, like, how you take the see-through paper, whatever it's called, and a pencil, and
Oh yeah, yeah. Rub it off on
yeah,
the
I don't
like
know what it's
making an
called
impression.
because, yeah, exactly, yeah. So I got to do that with the friends I've lost, and
Oh.
may not sound like much, but that's actually it's super meaningful,
Yeah,
when you
yeah,
get to do it, and it's
yeah.
just
And to see him among all the other people too, it's kind of overwhelming, but it's
it
good.
is. Yeah, yeah, like, yeah. Overwhelming is a big word for how many. And I will, I'll talk about this for a second. I wasn't actually
Mhm.
planning on going into this, but I think it's good to bring this up.
Go for it.
So when Sean and Jeff, those were my two good friends who were killed. Um, I was in the district with them at the time. I was just doing UC stuff in that district, undercover type stuff, and actually the night before they were killed, Sean had come up to me and was like, "Hey man, do you mind teaching me? I'd really like to
Mm.
kind of learn a lot more about narcotics." And he was such like a good guy, former military, as squared away as they get. Just such a good guy, and I was so stoked, and like, he's like, "Yeah man, definitely come ride with us, and um, you'd be perfect." And that was obviously the night before,
Mm.
but
Oh,
after after they were killed, it was obviously, um, that night, spent the entire night in the hospital. Like the whole district pretty much was in the hospital,
mhm.
and you're kind of numb at the time. Like your brain's racing, trying to figure out, the heck. Uh, and some of the vivid memories from the hospital, I remember, like Sean's wife showing up, um, and just, you try to sit
Mm.
there for a second. I can't imagine what was going through her head.
Yeah.
I never will. Like, you talk about strong people, both of their wives. way stronger than any of us, I think. Like
Oh
you talk
yeah,
about things that I can't imagine living through, and right there, I don't know
yeah.
how they did it. And like in Sean's case, he had a little kid. She was pregnant at the time. Um,
Mm-hmm.
just the heartbreaking scenario you never want to hear, kind of thing.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's like the
but
worst
anyway,
news.
yeah. So obviously, coming into that week, then after that, there's that empty feeling in your heart and your stomach, and
Hmm.
um, there's anger. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of anger, right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, and you're trying to figure out how to deal with that and move on. And I keep remember, we were off the street for a few days. They didn't want us for, and I get it, didn't really want us out there because our tempers probably weren't
Yeah, it's
where
hard
they
to
should be.
be. Yeah, it's
Uh,
hard to be chill. Yeah.
and I will say it's the first time that after that was the first time about 2 weeks later I ever kind of lost my cool and did something. It wasn't overly top, but basically got out with a gangbanger, and he had made the comment basically that, oh yeah, they got what they deserved. Trying to get under our skin, and we got that more than once. And like that is usually say what you want to say. I'm a bigger person than you. I don't care.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Mhm.
And I did not like. I got in his ear and basically said, if you're such a tough guy and you want to do this, I'll take the badge off right now. We can go. Um,
Mhm.
and had he taken me up on it, it would have ended up costing my job. Probably would have gone to jail. And so you look back and like, wow, that's pretty stupid. But it shows you how the emotion gets the best of you.
Yeah,
But
it can easily. Yeah,
yeah,
gotta
um,
work at it.
exactly. But
Mhm.
the week following that, there was one really good thing that came out of this horrible, horrible tragedy. And so the day of the funerals, they got us buses for the district that we rode on.
Mhm.
And officers, this was about what I'm going to say, and I don't know, but I'm going to say 5 days later. Uh, at this point, we're in our defense mechanism, right? So we're making horrible, horrible jokes nonstop. Our wives are
Yeah.
on, like, my wife was with me. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, exactly. I mean, um, my wife is with me, and we're cutting up on the bus, same way we always do, and we turn on to North Tryon Street, one of the main streets to lead down through inner city and all that, and the street is lined up with with, with people holding. Damn it! See, I guess it's my turn finally.
It's your turn, man. Let it happen.
So there's like people holding up signs. We love you. We support you.
Mhm.
Everything like that. And you talk about something so needed at that moment, like you have all this anger at what happened and you feel like nobody gives a crap, and then this
Yeah.
happens, and then you see all the people, like, I mean, just lined up the whole way down all the way to the funeral,
Mhm.
um, and people crying and showing support, and
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
the difference that made is unreal. And
Mhm.
that's um,
It's
Police
awesome.
Week always reminds me a little bit of that because it's a time that the nation comes together. And, obviously the last 10 years have been a little bit rough for law enforcement, but Police Week is always nice to still see that, hey, there are still a ton of people out there that know we're out there risking our lives to help and protect people. So I've always loved
Yeah.
that.
That's cool. Yeah. Cops are like it's a thankless job in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
You
Um,
know? So it's good when you get some thank you, even if it's on the heels of a tragedy. You need to
yeah.
hear it. It's
Yeah.
good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
so I want to
Mhm.
take a moment because I was thinking about this week. And I'm going to start with law enforcement. I want to move it into all first responders as we always do. But there's going to be, you know, kids coming into law enforcement now, and with this being Police Week and celebrating law enforcement and everything else, kind of, you hear from a lot of old timers, guys that have retired, guys like myself. Unfortunately, we can get bitter. And say, "Oh, don't ever go into the
Salty.
profession." Yeah, it's salty. I like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you know, salty.
exactly. And oh, don't go into that profession. It's thankless job. Blah blah blah. All that stuff. And what we seem to forget is we knew this when we took the job. Like this isn't some new surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
there's
Oh.
periods where it's better and worse, but
Mhm.
um, it kind of goes to this thing. But that's not why you know this going into the
Yeah.
job,
Yeah.
like
That's common knowledge. Yeah.
exactly. Like you
Mhm.
want to be that person that makes a difference. That's what's so
Yeah.
special about first responders,
Yeah.
is that despite the negatives, they still
Mhm.
want to do it because they believe in helping people. And
Yeah.
so I thought this would be a good opportunity to see if we can give a shout out to these kids that are going to go into law enforcement and maybe offer some advice,
Yeah.
knowing that they're going to be having to deal with trauma. And I look back at my career, and maybe if I had been better prepared and
Mhm.
more focused and had a game plan, I think is a good way to put it. That all right, when this trauma starts setting, when I see all these things, because I think we've talked about it 100 times before, you can feel what a first responder compared, like what is it that we see more trauma than, like the percentage wise, like the average person is what, 4 trauma events in their life or something.
Yeah.
I think you know what it is. I don't.
That's
Um,
a fair assessment. Yeah. A
and
few times in their lifetime.
and
Yeah.
we do that in a week.
Oh, it could be in a day. Yeah, like
Yeah,
man,
exactly.
some does. I mean, you know how it works. Some things that are traumatic to one aren't traumatic to the other, and my dad had a stroke, and all of a sudden, I was wanting to cry when I was on scene of a person with a stroke,
Yep.
and it was just because it was like reminded me my dad's mortal. He's gonna die. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
He
totally.
didn't, but just like things hit you different, and you might have a routine thing happen in your shift, and your next person with you is freaking out about it. You have no idea, and they don't want to say anything. You know,
Yeah.
but that's a good segue though think about it like this: grief is like a liquid, and you're like a sponge. And at the beginning, you could soak up a lot. You can take on a lot,
Yeah.
and but around 10 years or somewhere in there, you can be saturated, and then you have to have a way to wring it out. And so for people getting into the academy, to people considering a career in first responder world or military as well, same, it's different context, but
Yeah. Yeah.
you have to have a routine. And think about this: I'm not too big into animals. Okay, I'm not an animal expert, but I'm going to use an animal for an explanation. So when you watch like wild Africa shows and stuff like that, and you see animals running and chasing, like lions chasing zebras. If a zebra gets away from a lion, it will shake its whole body. And we should just take a time out for a second, because what is happening right there? And that zebra is shaking off all of that energy that it just survived. Some crazy lion. You can imagine running from a lion. I'd be freaking out, but you know, I would be shaking anyway. you know,
And crying.
if I would be in a cave. Like
Just rocking back and forth. I'm not ever
not
leaving.
kidding me. He will not get me. Like yeah, I would be crazy after that. But we just need to think about it. Like every one of those calls, and some of them are close calls. They don't make the news. Like somebody ran over my foot one time on a scene. That didn't make the news. That didn't even make the report. I
Yep.
banged my hand and like dented the roof because the lady turned into me when I was doing traffic, and she ran right over my boot. Thankfully, nothing really happened,
Yeah, no
but
kidding.
like it just stuff that happens, and you never really know, and you have to have a way to like get it out, and not to just store that kind of energy somewhere.
Yeah.
And so I'd say people that are in getting into this field, you got to have. You're not going to think you need it, but it's like a procedure that you don't have a standard for.
Yeah.
And so you need to figure out what's your procedure to offload all of this energy and all of this stress. And it's a lot of it's physical. So there you go.
Yeah.
And you can't use alcohol to do it
That's
all.
what I was. That's what I was about to bring up. Oh, real quick, Stacy, thank you, and you are absolutely correct.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, no, the again, it's you're going to see it. It's going to happen, and I'm not going to sit here and say that, oh, I never went down that road when Sean and
Oh,
Jeff
I
were
did.
killed. I can tell
Yeah.
you 2 weeks after they were killed is probably the most intoxicated I've ever been in my entire life. And my
Yeah.
poor wife had to deal with that. But
Yeah. Yeah.
but that's not healthy. And
Right. Yeah.
I'm not like, I get that
Mhm.
high likelihood it's going to happen or whatever, but you really, it can be a very slippery slope, and there are way too many first
Yeah.
responders that use it that one time, and all of a sudden that
Yeah.
just becomes
Every
the
time.
go-to answer. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And I've got guys that are retired now that are alcohol dependent.
Yeah,
Now they're dealing with that. Like they'll have seizures if they don't drink. It's like that's where that goes, and eventually it leads to death. So it's like, hey, if you're serving, you deserve better than that. Like let's
correct.
figure out some other ways. And I always just say, just don't drink more than you normally would, and then with a little asterisk, like actually should be, like pretty, moderate.
Yeah, exactly.
General. One
Yep.
standard drink per hour, standard drink, not like half and half. One standard drink per hour, that's an ounce and a half of hard liquor, or 3 ounces of wine, or 12 ounces of a 5% beer. That's a standard drink. Most of them don't come that way. They are come double, like
Yes.
IPA beer. It's like double, and you're like, I only had one, but it's
See,
actually,
yeah, yeah. I
like,
had an IPA not too long back, and well, no, okay, it's a while back, but
mhm.
yeah, like it hit you hard. You're like,
Yeah.
what?
It has more alcohol in it. Yeah. So, and then if you're a daily drinker, it's still moderate to have 2 drinks a day. I wouldn't advise it, but
Right.
you can have 2 standard drinks a day, spaced apart by an hour, and that's 14 drinks a week. That's kind of a lot, actually. But and then if you're not a standard everyday drinker, it's 3 drinks in one sitting. So it's like you could have 3 and still be considered moderate. You just space them out, and the whole point is like just ask yourself why you're drinking too. If
Yeah,
that
there
becomes
you
a
go.
thing,
Yeah,
right? You get
yeah.
into that, and we'll figure out other ways to
And
deal
think
with it.
about the next morning.
Yeah,
Is it
exactly.
really worth it? Because
Yeah, no, it's not. Yeah, you're gonna
everything you're
throw it
feeling
up.
right now is going to be 10 times worse
Uh,
in the morning.
yeah, yeah, but it takes somebody to tolerate sitting in that grief,
Yeah,
and lots of, especially men, are not great at sitting in grief. It's like, what are we gonna do? And then there's nothing you could do about it.
yeah,
And so then we don't want to sit in that space where we can't really make it go away, and so we avoid it, and then we isolate. So yeah, I'd say the other thing that comes up is the triangle of tragedy. So when you talked about your partner, your buddies,
yeah.
the first point of that triangle is that you know them personally. So that's going to be more traumatic if you know somebody, that is, if you know somebody specifically, and that is either killed or maimed, seriously injured. So that's like a big giant dose of grief. The second triangle of that tragedy is if you had hands on. So, where I know we're going to have a guest on probably next time,
Hmm.
that had some hands-on experience with line of duty death, and I'm sure we'll get into that. But when you have your hands on somebody, it's so much more real, as you know, than if you hear about it or even if you see it. You don't touch it,
Right.
touch them. If you're having to hold somebody's, you know, inside in, or you're trying to stop bleeding, or you physically had to do CPR, like those are your hands are on. So that's going to be another big giant dose of grief. And then the third one, it's kind of the trifecta, is if you see the family reaction. So when those wives came in, and
Yeah.
you saw what they saw, and you connected with like what they're going through right now, when they see that their loved one's gone and they have kids, that triangle of tragedy is like the biggest dose of grief that you can get, I think. And so sometimes it helps if I'm speaking to people who are still in the field, if you can think about it like that, and try not to expose certain people to things they don't need to be exposed to. Seeing family reactions, you're going to see it at funerals and memorials, and at the remembrances and stuff. But But when it's all together though, and it's just, so if you went in and you got a giant dose of grief, then you got a lot of work to do on your own to like, remember zebra, like we gotta get this out of your system. But that means you have to sit in it and tolerate it and let it be upset, and it's okay. And then the average, I'm going to shut up here in a second. The average
You're good.
emotion will last 90 seconds. So if you feel that like anger, it lasts 90 seconds. And then you have a choice to feed it or let it, you switch your mindset or whatever. Sometimes with anger, you have to actually sit and figure out why you're mad,
Yeah.
you know? And
Yep.
it's easy to figure it out when it's a line of duty death. But if it's like a personal thing, sometimes you don't. You just have to know, why am I mad? And sometimes it's pain.
Yeah.
It's not anger. In your case, it probably was both, because there's a justice thing, and then there's also someone's gone, so you got grief too. You know. So,
Yeah.
what's your thoughts on that? What do you think about that?
Actually, that makes perfect sense. And like the triangle, like I guess I never thought of it before, but that makes obviously. Oh yeah, like it's almost like the bell going off. Like oh yeah, now I get that.
Mhm.
Which is also for everybody listening that's working, keep that in mind, right? Because
Yeah.
like that's the thing that you should be paying attention to is because you're gonna know. Like I mean, what was it last year? Just over a year ago, we had the other horrible incident in Charlotte. Lost another friend, um, but you had several officers shot in a horrible situation, and then keep an eye on your buddies at that point, right? Because
Yeah.
obviously a ton of officers were involved in that thing, um, and
Hmm.
so if you know somebody just witnessed something or had to put hands on, which we definitely had the case, and Saul family went through the whole like you put a triangle. Uh, don't
Hmm.
I'm not, and Will, you would know better than I would, but I wouldn't necessarily don't come at them constantly saying, "Hey, you okay? You okay?" Because
Yeah.
they've got to be willing to take that step too. But you can keep an eye on them. If you see the danger signs,
Yeah.
um, then maybe figure out a course of action. But
Yeah.
you know, we sit
Yeah.
there. Go ahead.
Yeah, and say, if you notice the people's behaviors changed, like they used to be funny and now they're serious, or they're serious now they're funny, or they're like, now they won't talk to you, won't look at you, they're not sleeping right, like they're drinking more, they're reckless. Like those are big signs and symptoms. Stuff's going on, and I think most men need somebody else to watch,
Yeah.
because there's like this blinder on of like, I think I'm better than I actually
Yeah.
am.
Yep.
And so if your partner, your buddies, or somebody that sees you on a regular basis knows, hey, what's up with you, man, and gives them some data, some information, like I saw what you said or did, or I can see things must be different, or you look like shit. you
Yeah.
know, like a
Yep.
little comment like that would be like, oh, do you
Yeah.
see it?
Yeah. A
And
little snap. Yeah.
yeah,
Exactly. And
yeah,
that's like I mean, my wife got good at that to a degree because like so when I get my spiral or my funk, I isolate completely.
yeah.
Everything, any kind of communication, for whatever reason, becomes very, very difficult for me. Like
Hmm.
even replying to a text, like I can't do it. Like
Hmm.
I don't. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you why. I don't understand it necessarily, but I'm just
Yeah.
scared to talk, scared to like. I just completely isolate to myself.
Hmm.
And I've gotten much, much better. But when I was real bad, it was like I was scared to literally do anything. I just
Yeah.
constant anxiety attack. It was weird.
That's tough, man. I mean, just think about like stress, when if it just keeps playing on you, you end up in a ball. You end up just kind of shutting everything down, including everyone else.
Yeah,
And so you start seeing signs of people shutting things down and like not wanting to be involved and like in regular routine stuff like dinner, or they used to work out and they don't do that anymore. And it's not like maybe more of a sudden thing. So it's diet, rest, and exercise are the first three things that I think go. out the window when shit hits the fan, and you're like, I'm gonna drink all I want, eat all I want, or nothing. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
have anything.
because you
That's
just
my
don't care. Yeah,
Yeah. You're like, I don't even care. Yeah, I'm not
yeah,
hungry. Your digestive system gets all jacked up when
jacked.
you're traumatized anyway. Um, so people aren't always hungry, and lots of people have GI problems. Like, I mean, TMI, but people have diarrhea for multiple years. That's not normal.
Yeah,
Like and it's if doctors can't figure it out, and it's not all the gluten, all this stuff,
yeah,
then look at the traumas. Like all those stress hormones are released in your GI tract, so of course your GI tract's gonna get all wonky when it's overstimulated, and there's a lot. I can almost feel like toxic. I think
yeah. I
people
think that's a good way to word it.
Yeah, can you, if you get like, can you notice the levels of stress and toxicity from?
Oh, completely. And it's funny with what everything you just said, and there's something else you said in there that I thought was so huge because, at least for me, because this is kind of what cost me. Um, and I think this is a shout out to you and a shout out to all therapists. And that's why don't expect a doctor to be able to treat you if your problems are coming from mental health. It will not happen. And that's like, I am right here is the number one example of that.
Yeah.
When I went in with the lung infection and my lungs were done, doctors couldn't explain to you this. Basically, you could say, all right, your immune system is non existent. We don't know why, but you have no
Mhm.
immune system and you can't fight this lung infection. This is now your new norm. Uh,
Mhm. That's it.
where,
Yeah, a lot of times they
yeah,
just give meds and stuff.
yeah, that's, I mean, because if it's
Yeah.
if it's the brain, if it's the trauma things, that's not what they're gonna know, and that's why or I don't like because I kid myself, or I did kid myself to say, or chose not to believe that it was a mental health. I knew it. If I were completely honest with myself, I knew what the root problem was. I chose not to address it and did not believe that it could manifest itself physically. I was fortunate in the fact that I wasn't drinking all the time or doing anything like that. So it wasn't that end of things. But not sleeping, like that was killing me quite literally.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so you bring
Totally.
up the three pillars kind of thing, the
Mhm.
sleeping, the resting, working out. Like,
Diurese exercise. Yeah.
yeah, when that stuff goes to crap, you are done for. And my diet, in that sense,
Yeah.
did go to crap in terms of I didn't care what I ate.
Hmm. Yeah.
And that's the other thing. Um, Keto 50 brought it up. Eric brought it up. I do agree with this 100%. Sugar is basically the same as that. Like, it is so addictive and so bad in so many ways
Mhm.
that if you start, like, that can be,
Yeah.
don't think alcohol is anything you might turn to because I think I turned a lot to sugar
Hmm.
through anxiety to eat that and go that route.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
like,
totally. Get the quick fix, the
yeah,
monsters, the Red Bull, whatever, like
yeah.
coffee, caffeine, like yeah,
All
there's
right,
a lot
calm
of
down. I still
stuff.
struggle with the caffeine. All right, I'm working on
I know.
that.
Yeah, I know. I have tons of coffee. I have two coffee machines. Yeah. I'm totally with you. Yeah, I drink coffee all the time. And, the stronger the better. And reminds me of the firehouse coffee that will be like black at the bottom. And you just, and it
The
smells all
syrup. You
burnt.
mean syrup?
Yeah, it's like, bloop, bloop, and there's like
Yeah.
four coffee pots all in one, and they're all burning,
Well,
because
I living down here. It's all Cuban coffee, and let me tell you, that
oh,
stuff is gold. Like that's
yeah, I love Cuban coffee. Can
yeah.
we manifest some Cuban coffee? Like,
That's what we need to
get,
do.
yeah, people, if you want to send us some Cuban coffee, we'll test
We'll
it
take
on
it.
here,
Take
and to tell you how it is.
it. Exactly. That's definitely
Yeah,
what we need.
yeah.
You might not understand us during the show because we'll be talking so fast, but it's fine. Don't worry about
Yeah, just it's like on 2x speed now,
it. Exactly.
We're just trying to stay with the times, talk fast. Yeah.
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 Time is money.
That's right. We'll just talk fast. So, yeah, but
So
no, I mean, yeah, for you, thinking of your sleep, we'll keep hitting that. And there's some people that I want to bring on that talk about sleeps specifically. So, but we'll work on that in the next couple episodes. And but definitely, I'd say for just summarizing for the new people is just don't wait until you need to have a talk. Do it right from the beginning. And I got to just put a shout out there. So, because I get new clients all the time, therapy, and I get clients that are brand new, like literally brand new in EMS and fire and PD, and they're engaging in counseling.
That's good.
So the newest, youngest generation seems to be more open to talking about stuff than the older generations, like mine and the above, and yours, Matt.
Yeah,
It's
that's
harder.
good.
So, but the newer, I just want to shine some hope because the younger people seem to, it's not as big of a deal to
I mean,
talk.
yeah, please, everybody, just hear what he just said. I mean, because yeah,
Yeah.
if the younger generation does that, is so phenomenal.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
cool.
that is one of those things that we desperately need to change the way of thinking, like us old guys.
Yeah,
um,
it's the old people that are, I'm having a hard time,
yeah,
like,
exactly. It's what you just said. Don't wait till you need it. Guess what? When you realize you need it,
it's
you're,
too late.
it's a long road after that. I promise.
Oh, yeah. And if you wait like 20 years,
Yeah,
like, oh man. Yeah, and you just don't have to. That's the other thing. You don't
exactly.
have to wait. So
Don't
it's
put
not
yourself
like,
through it. Don't put your
yeah,
body through it. Yeah,
right?
one
Yeah, do
hundred percent.
yourself a favor and yeah, find somebody. And finding somebody's not that easy, but are you still looking for somebody there?
Ah,
Yeah.
so you brought no. I have got a therapist. I'm so thankful, and so this is the other great weird thing. It was such a stress relief once
Yeah.
I got to, like, because got to talk to the person. Um, you know how quickly, like, not right away, but you talk for a little bit. You're like, oh, I think this is gonna work. You get enough back and forth and all that, and
Mm-hmm.
that you get enough knowledge that you're like, oh, I really, I think I can open up to this person. I think we can have some meaningful conversations. Um, and
Cool.
let me tell you, if you're thinking about therapy, or if you've thought about it just a little bit or anything like that, I and call me out if I'm wrong. I you'll have to admit that you went, but um, the minute you find somebody, that alone takes a weight off. Like, because there's this anxiety up to it because you need it, but you're so scared about finding that person, and especially be prepared for this. The first couple you reach out to, you're gonna be done like I can't, right? That is not a sign to give up. That should be expected. You meet how many people a day? Of the new people you meet a day, how many are like, oh, I can be friends with that person, or oh, I can get close to that person, right? Not that many. It's not going to be any different with a therapist. You've got to find
Zero.
out. Yeah, exactly, right.
Almost none. Yeah.
Yeah. So you know, with a therapist, don't expect to get that connection. If you get it off the first one, that's fantastic. But you
Mhm.
can't use that as an excuse to just, oh well, I tried, I called
Yeah.
somebody, I didn't like the fit, so obviously therapy is not for me. Wrong.
Yeah.
That's just a scapegoat. That
Yeah.
don't let yourself do that. I promise. Once you find that one you connect with, like the minute you get off the phone the first time, you're gonna be like, there's just this burden that's lifted, like,
Yeah.
or maybe it's
It's
a feeling of
cool.
hope. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
I see that. I
So
can see that on the video
yeah,
calls, like seeing people
yeah,
wanting to connect, and when they really do,
it's
you
just
can
that.
see them like there's a spark in their eye more than there was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
like
up
this is
until
the
that
way
moment,
out.
there's fear. There's, I mean, all that stuff. Like, you're already probably suffering from anxiety and that kind of stuff. And
Mhm.
yes, unfortunately, looking for a therapist causes a little bit more anxiety at first. I'm not going to deny
Yeah,
that,
it's a new
but
person. Yeah,
exactly.
they're.
Um,
Mhm. Hi, let me tell you all the secrets. Okay. Hi,
yeah,
nice to meet you. Let me tell you everything. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
and
Yep.
yeah, and you go over the person will be like, all right, wow, this person's legitimately crazy. But it
Uh,
doesn't work like that. I promise. All right.
Yeah, no, I never have thought a client was crazy unless they were not present with me, meaning like they were
A thousand
had
miles away.
schizophrenia or
Yeah.
something, and then I would never say that, but it's like, wow, he's in another world, like, but he's not crazy. Like I separate the behavior from the person,
Yeah.
and the person's behavior is crazy, but the person themselves is not. Like, just like if it's alcohol, you're not an alcoholic, you're a person who's drinking alcohol. Like, there's a person in there, and that's the person that I'm trying to connect with. Just like people adapt their behaviors, and like, I'm bipolar. You're not bipolar, you're a person with bipolar. Like, you,
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
that's not exactly, I would just tweak that a little bit, because it's not actually who you are. Like, you would never choose bipolar, so don't say that you are bipolar. You struggle with it maybe, but there's a person in there that doesn't agree with it either and doesn't want it, and that's your true self. Like, and that's the person that I try to get to, because you kind of got to see through all the behaviors and stuff and the defenses, and all the triggers and all this, and to see that person's in there and to try to get them to come out. And it's a challenge as a therapist, but it's also a reward to see somebody let those guards down and be willing to like change their life. It's pretty cool in a way.
And I like that. That was
Yeah.
like, I really like the way you put that. Like, you're not bipolar. You're a person. Like that.
Yeah.
That's pretty
It's
meaningful.
person first, person centered, person first language. I mean, we should be doing that anyway. It's the same as if somebody has autism. They're not autistic. There's somebody who deals with autism. Like,
Yeah.
there's a person in there that we always forget about, because we label, and it's normal to label. Even the medical model. I mean, DSM, it's like this thick. The Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Psychiatric Disorders, and I had to memorize all of the criterias. And um, but long story, those are all labels. And at the end of the day, do they really matter what the label is?
Exactly.
Like, not really. Sometimes you need to know, and I do have clients like, I need to know if I have ADHD. Like, well, we can figure that out, or post traumatic stress and all that. But at the end of the day, though, like, you're just building a relationship.
Yeah.
So, can you trust them? Are they honest? Do they respect you? Are they genuine? And then if you can say yes to those, then you can do something with them.
Exactly.
You know?
100%.
Yeah, it's good though.
Awesome.
Yeah, really. Yeah. So
So,
hey, we got we were gonna do a shout out to, is it John maybe,
so
that
yeah,
is coming?
I want to, and just go with his first name for now until I talk to him. Actually, you know what? We're gonna call him Rambo because that's his nickname. And when he comes on,
Hey,
you'll
Rambo.
you'll figure out why.
All right.
But he was supposed to be on tonight. I'm wishing him all the best right now. Prayers to you, buddy. He had a family emergency. I've been in contact with him, though. I'm not going to want to think
Mhm.
everything's. It could be worse. Let's put it that way. But definitely prayers are with he and his family right now as they're dealing with that. So obviously that takes
Yeah.
priority over coming on here. But he will be with us probably next week. Um,
Rambo.
and if not next week, yeah, Ram will be on us soon. And
Hmm.
he, great guy. I've known him for a very, very long time, and incredible cop. He has been through more than his fair share. Um, Testament to him because he always comes out the other side. So hats off. But as he will tell you, it's definitely left his scars, and I'm going to wait till he's on to tell you even things that he and I have been through and things that I've seen with him that I
Hmm.
wouldn't wish on anybody. So uh,
Yeah.
it's going to be a great episode. I promise y'all that. A great episode. So please make sure you tune in for that one. We
Yeah.
also have somebody else coming on June 1st, but I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. It's
Hmm.
going to be another phenomenal person coming on. But we got
Yeah.
a lot of great people lined up. But we're going to also get
Uh,
still working. We're going to get some firefighters and dispatchers. It's not going to be all law enforcement. I don't want to do that. I want it to be all law enforcement. I want
yeah,
to get nurses on here
we'll
too, and some
represent.
military. Yeah,
Yep, we'll
exactly.
represent. I'm just a little shout out to Clark County. They're the first to do the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, and they also responded first due to the shooting that happened several years ago now.
I remember that.
Jason Aldean concert, 58 were killed. And so just sending some thoughts and prayers to the Clark County people. I hope that they've recovered since then, or working on it. But I do know that some survivors I worked with have met with sheriff's deputies that kicked the door in, and then now in the sheriff's office there's a number 58 jersey from the Denver Broncos, all signed and everything, hanging up
That's pretty
there.
cool. That's cool.
But yeah, it's cool to remember, like not cool what happened,
No.
but it's good to be mindful of stuff that happens, 9/11, all these events that lead up to, what, why does this all matter? Like, law enforcement, it is thankless, but then there's a reason why people do it.
Yeah.
And, and I think that's another thing for people older that are in the field, whether it's fire, EMS, or police or military too, is remember why you first joined.
Absolutely.
When
That's
you're
huge. Yeah.
Say more about your experience, Matt.
Like that. Like it's funny because I'll throw out his name. I don't care. You can get mad at me later. Andy Rice was my first FTO, and I talk about him a lot. He, in my opinion, may be the very best street cop that there is. Definitely.
Nice.
Yeah, exactly. And he is one of the greatest guys that I've ever met, and I learned so much from him. Embarrassed myself enough in front of him because I was straight out rookie. But for one of the funny stories, we'll get into that sometime. But I remember one of the first things, I think it was our first night. It had to be our first night. Sorry, apparently somebody's wrestling my dog. Probably my kid. But, you get out of the academy and your badge is sparkly, right? I mean, it's super nice looking. No scratches, nothing like that. And he said, I want you to look at your badge right now. And basically he says, remember how shiny it is and how nice it looks. He says, you are going to see other people tarnish this badge and do stupid stuff and make this badge filthy. Do not be one of the people that tarnishes their badge. And that's like, it's such a simple metaphor type thing, but so powerful at the same time. Like you have a choice, and you can be a shining example. And I think you owe it to be that example in all aspects, and that includes being there for other officers and the mental health side of things as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and to see leaders step up and like your FTO to instill that in you, and if there's FTOs, I've worked with a lot of FTOs and academies at the beginning, usually a day or two because they don't give mental health a whole lot of room, but it's better than zero.
It's a start in the right direction. Let's go.
And some places are way better than others. There's still a culture, and remember the generations. The ones that are in charge are older usually. Exactly. So, like, there's room. It'll grow, but for it to have those leaders too to say, like, I've had several. I won't put them out there, but I've had one recently, like a captain say, "Hey, listen, this is what we're doing. You're going to have a talk about this because this was a big deal." It was some officers that responded to a baby that died in a car that was left in the car in heat, and then of course the mother showed up and had been gone for a while, and baby had been gone for a while, and so it creates those like spiral effect of like, there's the mom, there's the baby, she left the baby in here, and I have a baby, and now I'm so hats off to the captain to be like, hey, we're going to talk about this as a crew, as a shift, even as a department, but because they had been they had held off from some other things, including some shootings that they had been in, to offload some of those kind of conversations. So it's a pleasure to be in with cops and fire and EMS when you can just, I always talk about what helps and what hurts. And I know there's a whole 12-step debriefing, the Jeffrey Mitchell model of debriefing. I've been trained in it. I don't disagree with it, but there's pieces of it that I've just found are better to do more naturally. And one, I don't sit in a circle with everybody. And that's because I don't ever sit in a circle with anybody.
Yeah, and cops aren't exactly going to be comfortable in a circle, to be perfect.
Yeah, I'm really uncomfortable.
Yeah,
like just wherever this is happening is where, and I get it, they want you to look at each other and stuff, but like, I don't put cops and like firefighters together like that. Firefighters would be more apt to sit in a circle in a way, because you might be like in the apparatus bay and you're all standing there talking. But I've done debriefings like that where we're just kind of standing around in the engine bay and on the back of engines and whatever, just out where you normally are, and you don't have to make these conversations complicated.
Right.
Talk about the facts, what happened. I try to get people to talk about what's the worst thing about it. It might be a face, it might be the sound, the smell, the photos, the dreams, the intrusive thought. It might be something different for everybody, and then just point out what's happening physically. If people are sweating, like that's part of it.
Yeah.
And then what hurts, and then what helps. And I always try to get other cops to talk to other cops about what helps. I can tell you what helps as a professional, but I want to hear a cop tell another cop, this is what helps me. Helps me to go take a drive before I go home and, cruise around and listen to music and stuff and debrief and cry and do whatever you got to do. And then I go home. Okay. That's what helps you. Or take the dog for a walk. And be mad at God, pray, angry, like cuss, whatever. I mean, everyone has their ways of coping. And if you can get them to talk about it, we're in the right path,
Absolutely.
So, yeah, what helps for you after the fact, since we're on this topic of like traumatic stuff? What are you going to do in the next 24 hours?
So yeah, I'm gonna shout out real quick because Rambo just got back to his house. He just put a shout out on the message here. He just got home. Glad you're home, brother. We just were talking about you a minute ago.
Yeah, ears are ringing.
We'll be having you on either next week or real soon. We'll get your schedule locked down and get you on for sure. I was just telling him. Unfortunately, I complimented you, and I hate when I have to compliment you, but I did. But anyway, brother, we're praying for you and your family right now.
Yes,
but
true.
So you named a couple of mine. Music is very, very big for me. I don't necessarily have to be in the car listening to music, but I got to go to a room where I can zone out and put music on and do what I got to do. I've now, since therapy, meditation has become a very, very big one for me. I can't do it. Like if I'm in an anxiety pack, like if I'm shutting down anxiety wise, no, I can't meditate then. I can't get myself calm. Like I got to do something else first. That's where turning to music first. Let what you talked about, letting it out first and getting some stuff to where you can get a somewhat sense of a mind or a frame mind. And then I can meditate and get myself way back down to normal. But those are, and all like going for walks, taking the dog for a walk. Yeah, those are always pretty easy. I'm a little careful with the dog because I can lose my mind and forget I'm walking the dog, and next thing I know, the dog's gone, and I'm like, oh, this is bad.
Yeah, what happened to the dog? Yeah. Now you have other anxiety.
I thought I put her on the leash.
Yeah. They have crocodiles down here too.
Yeah, exactly.
They're like alligators.
I'm very protective of my dog.
Yeah.
My therapy dog.
That's great.
But you just got, and now again, actually, so I have 2 punching bags. I got to replace one of them. It's done. But that is a big one for me too. If I am in the midst, if I'm going through the anxiety and angry, I'm going to go wail in that bag for a while. That
punches
a lot. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Heck yeah, man. Yeah, for a while there, I used to bring mats, punching hand mitts and stuff, and striking mats and stuff, and do a little bit of let's just do punches, knees, elbows, and that helps too, man, to get people really moving, Yeah, it's good. I just want to put it out there. I think it's different for everybody, but you should find a routine. You should have a standard procedure that you do when you're traumatized or when you just went through something major and you don't even know what to do. You have to have a plan for that because it's going to happen.
And I would say, and tell me if I'm wrong about this, but having several different options can be good because like sometimes, like if one thing's not working, just slide over, if the bag not working, switch over to music. It's
Yeah.
just don't switch over to alcohol and get drunk and say, well, this isn't working. I'm gonna get hammered. Because
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I always add a little humor, and I got a handout that I give people, and it's 99 coping skills, you know? So, like, I feel like if you were like, what is that Jay-Z song, like 99
99
Problems,
problems.
you know? But like, you got 99 coping skills too, and it's the opposite. But like, sometimes we get locked into like, we just don't even know what to do because
Yeah,
you get used to like, I don't know, and then nobody knows. So like, even a simple look at 99 different things that
that's a great idea.
one, just pick one, man, try it, see if it helps,
Yeah, just blindly put your finger somewhere. And say, okay, I'm gonna do that. See what
right?
happens. Yeah.
Yeah. And it might be like jump on a trampoline and you're like, I don't have a trampoline.
Well,
But
very good.
I think some of them, I think to get creative, we lose our creativity. We forget the anxiety because think about when anxiety happens, we're starting to lose this ability to reflect and think and like take in information and think about it and then synthesize it and then decide and act. We just start acting.
Yes.
And so we don't, unless we have something drilled into our head that this is why I do when I'm anxious, then it's hard to access that information. It's like trying to remember something, you know it, but it's like not there. It's the
Yep.
word that pissing you off because you know the word and you just can't figure it out right now. Later on, you'll figure it out. Um,
Exactly.
that's that stress happening. And so I always try to get people think about it naturally. Like if I'm all like I can't relax, then first thing to do, we need to relax. We
Yeah.
need to physically calm down. Get your heart rate down. How do you do that? Breathe and move and stretch. Like it seems weird.
Music is real good for me on that.
Yeah, put some music on. I had 84,000 minutes of Spotify last year. So I definitely am with you. That's like 5 hours a day,
I
of
think
music.
I think I'm right there with you. So we're
See?
keeping pace
All
on that
right,
one.
we're gonna see who wins.
We'll have to have one of those music contests. See who knows more music.
At the end of the year, we'll do the rap thing and see how long. Yeah,
Oh,
but
John, Rambo just put on here. Be nice, Matthew. The captain is here. If you are with the captain, tell her she's also coming on here soon. I keep missing her, trying to get a hold of her, but I've already
yeah,
talked to Willie about her. She definitely needs to come on here. She's incredible. So that will
yeah.
happen.
I look forward to it. We're just getting started. We're 9 episodes into this thing, and we now can say that we know how to do our microphones.
Yeah, right. I
And
know.
and we got lighting, and anyway, so
Oh,
I.
Captain did just jump on. She just said, "Hey,
Oh
Captain,
yeah,
if you didn't hear, I was just talking about you. That you are definitely going to be coming on here for sure. No option on that one." Um,
yeah,
but oh, Eric
absolutely.
jumped on here too. What's up, Keto?
Hey, we got to shout out to everybody. We love all of y'all.
Exactly.
Hmm.
But all right, so we've had a pretty heavy episode, and we got to end it here. So let's. I've got a
Yeah.
funny story. Give you a second. I wouldn't lie. I have a lot of proof that says otherwise on that. I could have sworn you did Undercover for a while. Um, Cap says she's ready. Awesome. We'll be getting up real soon. Just got back to the meat stuff. Nice. I hope that was a good time, Eric. All right. Anyway, love you too, brother. All right. So, funny story time. I will start, and then you think of one of my others. And I'm going to do show and tell. This is my little museum behind me. I literally have stuff from when I first started and all that kind of. This is my very first magazine pouch. Yes, I know it looks like it's seen a
Ah,
better day. But my funny story is, and I'll get it right up to the camera. If you look real closely, if it's not too glaring, there you go. It's all scratched up and literally some of it torn off. Like I was done with FTO, but I hadn't been on the road by myself for probably more than like 3 months. And foot chases were pretty common. I was actually pretty fast at that time, could outrun most. Um, we get in a foot chase and somebody's calling it out, and so the whole cavalry's headed towards it. I get out, joining the foot chase, and I am feeling so proud of myself because I'm passing everybody, catching up to the bad guy. And we come to a sidewalk and then to the road, and he goes across the sidewalk onto the road and then up the other side. And literally, right as I had passed all the officers, so I'm right behind the guy now, come off the sidewalk, hit the road, and lose my balance forward. And it's one of those ones like, oh, you're going down. There's nothing you can do about it. So I literally just Superman at that point, like spread out and make it so obviously my vest and my belt just rub across. And took all that. And so I'm laying there as I'm sliding across the ground. All you see are the whole line of officers just running past me. And I swear I heard a couple of them chuckling. I'm like, yep, this is about right.
Yeah, yeah. They're gonna make fun of you later. Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, you'll definitely hear about that. And I have another foot chase one with the guy saying about my FTO Andy Rice. I'll tell about that another time. But I'm only
Yeah,
embarrassing myself with one story, and I'll embarrass myself
that's
all next
fair.
time.
Yeah, we'll get
And
more.
well, when
Mhm.
Captain comes on here, I'm dead because she has way too many stories to embarrass me.
Secret. Oh yeah, message me, Captain. Just send them my way. I want to hear
Yeah,
them
just
all.
I'll give
Yeah.
you his email. Don't worry about it.
Yep.
All right, what's
Yep.
your embarrassing story?
All
Or
right.
not
So
embarrassing, but
since
funny
we're
story.
doing show and tell, so let me just show you. Okay, so these were some of the like things that I signed myself up to do, like marathons and whatever.
Nice.
But do
Is there
you
a
guess
Spartan one? Do you have a Spartan?
I have there's some Tough Mudder ones in there. There's but I wanted to pull out my favorite one. Okay, so my favorite one is not the prettiest one, um, but I just want to show you this. So this is 25K, and I didn't know it was a 25K because I didn't look. I just like signed me up, and I thought it was a half marathon, so it was actually like 2 more miles, like 15.6 or whatever. And I thought anyway. So this is this one says on here, rain, brutal, 25K, bloody ankles, bloody nipples, and pain. So I say that because this one is actually my favorite one, but it was like the hardest one. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? And but yeah, I was that guy. I had a white shirt, and I was running, and it was like rubbing on my nipples, and then it started to bleed. Okay, so I had a white shirt that was bleeding. I was that guy, man. It was in the rain, and then guess what? I didn't also know what Vaseline was used for when you're running. I thought so. I was running by, and this lady like had a goopy hand, and I was like, "Oh, it's some of that like goo, you know?"
Oh no, 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 no. Oh, you
Yeah.
didn't.
And I was like, "Oh, I'll take some of that." I'm at mile like 12. I'm like dry mouth, and I was like, "Man!" I got a big thing of Vaseline, and then
You gotta, I think I'd have been done right there.
yeah, and so anyway, this one, like I said, this one's my favorite. I ate
That's
Vaseline and I had bloody nipples,
you earned
and I
that one. You
finished.
earned that one.
Yeah, I finished. So
Let me guess.
anyway,
The
there
next
we
person
go.
was actually handing out goop, and you went ahead and put that on your nipples.
Yeah, I was just actually I put band-aids on there, and then I was like, all right, we're good.
Well, my
But
wife always makes fun because my nipples are hard. So I would definitely have the blood pouring down without a doubt.
yep.
Oh,
So we
that
live
is
and
pretty good.
learn.
All
Yep,
right. Well,
live
we're
and
going to
learn.
call it. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. And thank you for all those that are going to listen during the week. Uh, as always, I
Mhm.
want to throw a quick reminder out. If you are struggling, hurting, need somebody to talk to, if you're law enforcement, cop line, we have other resources out there. If you can't think of a resource, hit one of us up. We
Yes.
will find you a resource. Don't
Yeah.
suffer alone. There is no
Yeah.
point, no value, nothing good comes from that. So please don't
Mhm.
do it. Hey,
Yeah.
love y'all. Great
Reach
show
out.
tonight. And
Hmm.
we will see you all next week.
Yep.
Hopefully,
See
with
y'all.
probably Rambo on deck. And
Yeah.
wait, wait till you hear those stories. Man, that
All
guy's
right.
done it for sure. All right, everybody,
Yeah.
have a great week.
Yep.